The maps we use to understand our economy, they're not just a little out of date. They're on fire. The tools that were supposed to help us see what's coming completely missed the 2008 crisis. And now, something much, much bigger is here, and our old ways of thinking are leaving us totally unprepared.
And look, this isn't some sci-fi movie quote. This is a direct warning from Geoffrey Hinton, one of the guys who literally created modern AI. He doesn't see AI as just another gadget. He sees it as something so fundamental, it's like spotting an alien fleet on its way to Earth. It's a force our current economic playbooks have absolutely no pages for.
Just think back to 2008. When the financial system was melting down, the economic models used by the world's most powerful banks they were useless. They had to be tossed aside because they had nothing to say about what was actually happening. That was a huge red flag that our map of the world was just plain wrong. But today's challenge, it's on another level. It's not just that the map is broken. AI is changing the very ground beneath our feet. So let's get into it. Why is this old map so dangerously flawed? To figure out where we're headed, we've got to first understand the cracked foundation we've all been standing on. Okay, so for the better part of a century, mainstream economics has been built on this core idea that the economy is a nice, stable machine. And the people in it, that's you and me, are what they call perfectly rational agents. That means we always make the absolute best decision with all the information we have. It's a worldview where everything eventually just settles back into a neat and tidy balance. A great way to think about it is the rocking horse economy. The idea is that the system is naturally stable, just sitting there. Then some external shock comes along and gives it a push, maybe a new invention or a war. The horse rocks back and forth for a little while, sure, but it always settles right back down to where it started. In this world, all the chaos, all the change, it all comes from the outside. But here's the thing. We all know reality isn't a rocking horse. It's messy, it's unpredictable, and it's driven by actual humans who are, anything but perfectly rational. Okay, let's play a quick game. I want you to pick a number between 0 and 100. Got it? Now, the winner is whoever gets closest to 2/3 of the average of what everyone else guesses. So you're not just picking a number, you're trying to guess what everyone else is going to guess. So what's your number? All right, now, according to that old economic map, a perfectly rational person would think through it like this. If people just pick random numbers, the average will be about 50. 2/3 of 50 is, say, 33. So I'll guess 33. But then they'd think, wait a second. If everyone else is rational, they'll also guess 33. So I should actually guess 2/3 of 33, which is 22. And if everyone thinks that, you follow the logic all the way down, and the only perfectly rational answer is 0. But here's the punchline. When this game was played with nearly 20,000 real people, you know what the winning number was? It was around 22. That perfectly logical, rational answer of 0, it was a terrible strategy. This tells us something huge. We don't operate on perfect logic. We take mental shortcuts. We try to outsmart each other, but only for a step or two. We're boundedly rational, and any model that pretends we're not is just destined to fail. And here's another big flaw in the old map. It loves to take all this complexity and boil it down to one single number. You hear it on the news all the time. Inflation is at 2%. Sounds simple, right? Clean, easy to understand. But the reality is anything but simple. I mean, look at this. Over the last couple of decades in the US, sure, the average might have been low, but the cost of hospital services skyrocketed by over 200%. At the same time, the price of a TV fell by almost 95%. The economy isn't one number. It's what they call heterogeneous. That single average doesn't just hide the truth, it tells a completely different and totally misleading story. So, okay, our map is broken. It doesn't get people, and it erases all the important details. And right now, we are facing a force that is actively redrawing the whole world. And make no mistake, this is not some small-time experiment. Major companies are pouring what some estimate to be $1 trillion into artificial intelligence. These are very serious people making a gigantic bet that this tech won't just make things a little better, it's going to disrupt everything and be wildly profitable. And this might be the huge shift they're betting on. It's a concept called the Great Decoupling. For all of modern history, capital has needed labor. If you wanted to build a bigger company, you had to hire more people. Simple. AI threatens to shatter that fundamental link. Why pay a human salary for knowledge work when you can just rent a cheaper, faster, more efficient AI agent?
Now, the potential for good here is incredible. We're talking breakthroughs in medicine, new scientific discoveries. But Geoffrey Hinton, the guy who helped start it all, gives us a very stark dose of reality. The way our society is set up right now, he says the rewards of all this new productivity won't be shared. Instead, he predicts massive job losses, where the owners of the AI get fabulously wealthy, and a whole lot of people get left behind.
So it's pretty clear. The old map is worse than useless, and we're basically sailing into uncharted waters during a hurricane. We desperately need a new way of looking at the world. We need a new compass.
So instead of that old, stable, rocking horse, let's try a much better analogy from the physicist Dwayne Farmer. Imagine trying to balance a long pole on the palm of your hand. It's never perfectly still, is it? It's fundamentally unstable. Your hand is constantly making tiny, imperfect adjustments to keep it from falling. And those very corrections are what create its chaotic, unpredictable dance. The action comes from inside the system, not from some outside shock. And that right there is the core idea behind a newer approach called complexity economics. It completely throws out the idea of a perfect, stable balance. Instead, it sees the economy for what it is, a complex, constantly evolving system more like a rainforest than a machine. It uses computers to simulate what happens when millions of diverse, messy, boundedly rational agents, people like us, all interact with each other. So this new compass gives us a much better toolkit. It starts by admitting that we aren't super rational robots. It embraces all that messy diversity we saw with the inflation numbers. And instead of trying to solve one impossible math equation, it uses powerful simulations to watch how things unfold, because it gets that the economy as a whole can behave in ways you'd never predict just by looking at one person.
And this brings us to what might be the most important point of all. As Hinton says, AI itself isn't the problem. The technology is going to make us more productive, period. Whether that leads to a future of shared prosperity or mass unemployment, well, that's not a technology question. That's a question about how we choose to organize ourselves as a society. It's about our values. So here we are at a truly critical moment. Our old maps are burning up. The world itself is being reshaped before our very eyes. Believing in a simple, stable economy run by perfectly rational people is no longer just wrong, it's dangerous. The real question we have to ask ourselves is this. As we head into this new, uncharted territory, who do we let draw the new map, and what will they choose to put on it?